Dabo Swinney makes two big-time hires for the Clemson football program, investing in the success for the future and for right now with hiring Matt Luke and Chris Rumph. We'll talk about that and more right here on the Morgan Thomas Show.
Looks like it's morphin' time.
This is my house. I built this. This is my house, and this will always be my house. Now let's continue.
Cause I love me some me. I love me some me. To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
And now, the Morgan Thomas Show.
What's up, Tiger fans? It's Morgan here, back again with another quick video about your Clemson Tigers. Make sure to hit that like button if you like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on all of my exclusive Clemson content I put out every single week. All right, I'm excited about this video because we're going to be talking about the two big-time hires for the Clemson football program. Clemson and Dabo Swinney just got done approving new contracts and new offers to an offensive line coach and a defensive end coach, Matt Luke at offensive line and Chris Rumph. You might be familiar with both those names at defensive end. So I'm excited to talk about those guys and get some of your opinions in the comments as well. I think it's big time hires for Clemson after having a season 8-4 successful win and loss record for sure, but not very successful overall as far as the standard of Clemson football, not being in the ACC championship game, losing 4 ACC football games, not what you want to see from Clemson football. And they had to make a change, and they made changes at two positions that I think are positions that were pretty much ready for a change for sure. Needed some fresh air, some fresh ideas in there. So let's break it down between the two coaches. I have a graphic that I want to show you as well that'll show their resume so you can see a little bit more about them. So let's start with the offensive line and Matt Luke. Obviously, this year, 8-4 overall, the offensive line seemed to struggle. They couldn't really figure out how to run Garrett Riley's offense, so they had to dumb it down and go back to more basic blocking scheme. And even then, while their rushing attack got better, so at first their passing attack was okay, their rushing attack was not good. And then after that, their rushing attack got much better, but then their passing game kind of disappeared. So they really couldn't figure things out. Thomas Austin, a guy who was a former player, unfortunately let go, and something that, we don't celebrate here, but we definitely wish him the best. And anybody who's a former player, we don't want to see them do bad no matter what, no matter where they go or what they do in life. We want them to have success. He got his opportunity to coach at his alma mater, and it just didn't work out. Clemson had to go a different direction. Dabo Swinney specifically had to go a different direction, and he went that way of Matt Luke. First question up on the docket here is, how do you feel about the investment in success, considering the fact that Matt Luke is getting paid much more than Thomas Austin? Honestly, I think that this is warranted because of his resume. We'll throw up that graphic there for you. You can see what he has done in his tenure as a coach. He's been an assistant coach. He's been a recruiting coordinator. He's been a position coach at tight end, at offensive line. He's been an offensive coordinator, and he's been a head coach, and he's won a national championship. So he's done those things at multiple universities in the Southeast. So I think that kind of resume deserves a higher pay grade there for Clemson, and they needed it. They needed to bring in a guy who had the success, who had that type of resume. A lot of fans grumbled when Dabo Swinney originally hired coaches that didn't have really much of a resume at all outside of working at Clemson. And honestly, looking back with 2020 vision, it probably didn't work out. I mean, it obviously didn't work out, but it probably wasn't the right decision. In this kind of environment, when you're at the level where you're trying to recruit against the best of the best, when you're trying to make it to the national championship, it'll be easier with the 12-team playoff, but still, it's getting more and more competitive, and you have to be a university and be a team that is willing to invest in the best possible options at every position, at every facility, and in every player for sure. So you have to do those things, and Clemson is showing, and Dabo Swinney is showing that they can do it. and change from the original direction to now into Matt Luke and investing in him. And I think it's justified. I think there's potential there. You see the track record. You see what he's been able to do. I like that he's been a tight end coach, an offensive line coach, because that shows those two positions have to work together. They have to be able to block, and be on the same page during the game. So I think that's cool. I like that a lot. Another thing that I like is that he's been a recruiting coordinator and that he has done it at multiple teams in the Southeast because, again, it's one about development. We know that he has the track record to be able to develop guys. He's put guys in the all-conference team, which Clemson needs to get back to, but he's also been able to recruit guys and send them to the NFL, which Clemson needs to do as well on the offensive line to be seen as a serious contender in the recruiting world, which he can do as well, considering the fact that he's coached at multiple Southeastern teams. So I like the total package that you get from Matt Luke. Do I feel like he'll bring success? I do. Now, do I think it's going to be immediate? I always give people that 1 year, that first year to kind of get their bearings, see what their foundation is, start to develop those relationships. He's been removed, but not too far. Again, he just recently won the national championship with Georgia in 2021. So while he did take a break to spend time with his family, it wasn't too long ago that he was out there on the recruiting trail. He was out there on the field coaching and developing. So bringing in players, developing players. It wasn't like it was a decade ago. So he's a guy I feel like is in a position that he can work well with Dabo Swinney, get into that Clemson environment and that culture and hit the ground running in the Southeast because of his track record. Again, with his recruiting and development, it looks good as well. He's been able to send guys to the NFL. He's been able to get guys to all SEC teams. And I think that's important. When you look back at teams where Clemson was most successful, they had offensive linemen, multiple offensive linemen that made first and second team all ACC. They have to get back to that. They had two guys in third team all ACC this year, but even still, to me, no disrespect, but that was a little bit of a stretch there. As much as we griped and complained about Will Putnam and Blake Miller, for them to be in an all ACC team, to me, a little bit of a stretch there. But anyways, Matt Luke, I think, will get the team and that roster back to where it needs to be. He has the proven track record. So if it doesn't work out, then to me, it has to be something else other than that. I think the big deal there is just bringing in better players to help along the way as well. You want him to hit the ground running in recruiting, go out there, get those relationships developed, and knock it out the park and bring in those high 4-star, 5-star guys that can come in and be immediate contributors to the team. All right, so we've looked at Matt Luke, offensive line. Again, I really like the hire there. I think all the industry and analysts out there like the hire. Let's look at Chris Rumph. He returns to Clemson because he was a previous coach at Clemson under Dabo Swinney and then moved on to coach with Nick Saban at Alabama. So we'll throw up his graphic here. You can see he has a long line and a long history of coaching at multiple schools. You got, again, Clemson, Alabama, Florida, Memphis, South Carolina State, Texas. Again, guy that's been around in big schools with great coaches and been in the Southeast recruiting for and against Clemson. So he's a guy who understands what's needed in the recruiting world to bring in those top-level recruits out there, which Clemson has shown they can do. But as Dabo Swinney mentioned, the biggest difference for him is that coaching ability and the experience that he's had in the NFL. He's coached at the Houston Texans, at the Chicago Bears, at Minnesota Vikings, and now back at Clemson. But when you look at that, when you go into a living room for a family and you talk about what you can do and how you can develop their young son, to be able to say that he has that kind of resume, same thing with Matt Luke. I mean, these guys can go into living rooms, talk to moms and dads, and immediately make an impact across the board in recruiting because of the experience that they have. So I love it. I think it's two great hires for Clemson. Obviously, moving Clemson in the right direction to be able to have success and get back into the national championship hunt. Now, going forward, there'll be a 12-team playoff, so it won't be as bad or as difficult, I don't think, to get into the playoffs as it is being in the top four. And we've seen even if you win all your games, they don't care, which I think they kind of did that. And we can get on a tangent there, but I think they kind of did that because this was the last year of the four, and they really have no rules. So going into it, going forward, they're going to have 12 teams. It's going to give Clemson Clemson and other teams a better opportunity to get into the playoff. But Clemson needs to get back to that national championship contender level, and I think they can do that with these two coaches. You, can't say that Dabo Swinney is not invested in this team. You can't say he's got his foot off the gas. He went out and hired the best offensive coordinator he could at the time. He went out and hired the best offensive line coach he could at the time, and he went out and hired the best defensive end coach he could at the time. So I think that Clemson is making the right moves. Dabo Swinney's making the right moves to get the team back to where they need to be. Hey, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you like the coaching hires of Matt Luke and Chris Rumph? Do you feel like that they will be able to hit the ground running and improve this team in 2024? Or you may be leaning towards what I'm thinking of, maybe 2024 is still kind of a get your feelings and go into 2025. I know it's kind of hard to say waiting that long to see success, but what do you think? I'd love to get your comments and thoughts and concerns, emotional outbursts in the comments below. I'll be sure to reply back to you. And don't forget to tune in tonight, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. over on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar for my radio show live and also streaming here on YouTube as well. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.